Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Muppet Stuff Museum. This is our second episode of Show Us Your Stuff. If you're not familiar, this is the show where I don't show you my stuff. You show us your stuff. So today's guest is my friend Lucas Ervin. He is moderator of the Muppet Collection Facebook group. Actually, not group, it's just a Facebook page. So we're going to have him on in just a second. But, before we do that, we got to actually start the show. So let's see if it works this time. Last time there was no audio, apparently. No one heard the audio for the opening. So let's see if it works this time. So here he is. Let's bring him in. Here he is, Lucas Ervin. There he is, right there, over there, over somewhere. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. This is almost like how the puppeteers are trained, where left is right, and vice versa.
So, it all depends on how you're seeing it. I mean, so yeah. I have to be honest. We're having a major thunderstorm here. The power went out like 5 minutes before I was setting up. I wasn't sure if the internet was going to kick back in yet or not. So this may all go crazy today, but we'll see. Hopefully, we won't have any more issues. Sure. The storm has subsided for a little while, and we're not supposed to get any more crazy thunder for another hour. So hopefully, we will. It won't mess with us too bad. If you see the power go out and we it all goes dark, I do have a flashlight here, okay. just in case. We might be doing this by flashlight, but there won't be any internet, so I don't know how that's going to work. Anyway, before I have a question for you, but before I begin, I have to let everybody know that in the last episode with Rachel Herrick, I actually misspoke. So I want to do some little housekeeping here and make sure everyone knows that even I make mistakes, and I mistakenly said that Muppets from Space did not call itself a movie, but there is a scene with the cast of Dawson's Creek, Katie Holmes and Joshua Jackson. They're over by a campfire with Clifford and
yeah.
Yep. And Pepe says, "This is a Muppet movie, okay? It's sort of romantic, right?" So I completely just spaced on that. And Joe had actually mentioned it in the comments, but I was doing like 18 things at once. So I think Joe's watching today. So thank you, Joe, for letting me know that. And now we can begin with this episode, now that we've cleared up the misinformation from the previous episode. So, okay, Lucas, my first question for you, my friend, is, of course, the $1 million question. How did you get into the Muppets, and what made you start the Muppet Collection Page?
I don't know, maybe you're like this, but the Muppets have just kind of always been in my life, kind of like your parents or, water. It's just always been there. But yeah, no, Sesame Street, The Muppet Show, Fraggle Rock, like I couldn't tell you when I discovered any of the three. They've just always been in my stratosphere, and I've always loved The Muppet Show. Great love of Fraggle Rock as well. Of course, Sesame Street, I deeply respect the old school Sesame stuff still. But yeah, and then I started the Muppet Collection Page in 2016. We actually just celebrated our 6th year because Diamond Select was coming out with a new wave of Muppet figures. And initially, the page was just going to be on the Diamond Select because I was thinking the Diamond Select was going to be as huge as the Palisades line. I was like, well, why don't I just do a whole Facebook page on the new Diamond Select page, or on the Diamond Select figures, and just see how it goes. But then within like 2 months, I started incorporating other stuff I had, which turned me into, like, I was already a fairly big collector at that point. But then I started getting like stuff I really like. Oh my gosh, I've wanted this for a while. I'm going to save up. I'm going to get this thing. I'm going to get that thing. So yeah, we started that back about 6 years ago, and it's we cover pretty much any kind of Muppet merchandise you can possibly think of.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been really admiring when I started the Muppet Stuff blog, one of the things I really wanted to do was show other people's collections, and it was just kind of hard for me to get people to send me pictures of their stuff after a while. So I kind of got away from that and started just doing more news and more stuff about my collection, that kind of stuff. But you sort of took the reins of that, like the kernel of that, and really expanded upon it. And like every Monday or something,
Yeah.
you show off someone's collection.
Muppet Monday, we've shown stuff from literally all over the globe: Spain, the Netherlands, Canada, Mexico, Canada, Australia, plenty of people from the U.S. Yeah, like it's funny that you had started that as well, because like I had started it just like asking friends if they wanted to share their stuff, and then I started getting other people like, hey, I'm from here, there, wherever. Could I show as well? So like, why don't we just make this a segment every Monday? Whoever wants to submit something, it could be handmade, it could be old stuff, it could be brand new, it could be all focused. We had somebody here a couple weeks ago. They had an entire collection room dedicated to just Ernie from Sesame Street.
I have a friend. I have a friend that her whole collection is just Bert and Ernie. She doesn't collect any other Muppet characters. So I totally get that. I actually remember seeing that, and it's funny how people tend to it's always fun to see how people organize their collection, right? So yeah. I do mine sort of chronologically, and then when it comes to separate areas, I do like coffee mugs or international releases or whatever, because that's just the way it kind of fit in my space and how I could kind of put everything together to organize it. But when I see people organize it by character, because I've seen that happen, like I said, it's all Ernie or it almost like my mind just kind of goes blank, because it's like the sea of, if it's Kermit, it's like the sea of green and like little white spots, and like whoa, like how do you keep track and how do you see everything, because it's like so much of one color. Like it feels like I've been in those aisles at Goodwill, like everything is organized by color. So like that is a skill that I do not have, because my ADHD or whatever that I've never been diagnosed with, but whatever I have, that would but probably send me off the charts.
Oh yeah. When you see something like that, like it's skill, it's dedication, it's some sort of ADHD. There is some sickness that has not been properly taken care of.
Well, I think we all have it a little bit. There's a little crazy in all of us. Believe me, undiagnosed for sure. But
I very much, because I'm the same way. I even, in my collection over here, I have one shelf of nothing but Kermit the Frog stuff from the '60s on, and so that's what I kind of like. I just wanted one little area of just Kermit. But and then I do kind of like what you were saying about categorizing. I do categorize. Like right behind me, I got the shelf my thumb is pointing to is all Palisades. The one right below is all Diamond Select. Up above, it is Palisades, but I got Funkos in the bag. I got Fraggle Rock stuff in the bag. Bobbleheads, figurines, mugs, all sorts of stuff like that. But I also, how I decorate, like I know what the main thing needs to be, and then if somebody's seeing it for the first time, their eye travels from what the main thing is to, oh my gosh, there's something from Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and Sesame Street, So one of the things, it really sucks to move, but when I am setting up the collection room, I get to kind of redo the whole thing to I don't know, give it a whole different look. Kind of like when people rearrange their living room furniture, like, oh, this is nice, So kind of like that.
Well, I have a picture. Let's see if I can actually do this here. We want to bring it up and share the picture here, and we're going to put it in with us. If I can. There we go. So that's just one. That's like one shelf, right?
That's half of one shelf. That's kind of the Miss Piggy area, and the front of it is covered with the the Diamond Select little figurines there that they did a few years back. But I got like a little bit of, because I don't have a whole lot of Miss Piggy, and I figured, she's massively iconic, and I was like, I need to put like all my Piggy stuff in like a little area here. So yeah, like a lot of the that's Hospital, Pigs in Space. Off to the center left, you can kind of see little figurines like from Muppet Treasure Island. There's one of Kermit and Piggy sitting on a box. Yeah, like that's just
I see.
shelf.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, that's it. That's just one half of one shelf.
Well, we have more pictures. We're going to show her. You sent me quite a few pictures, so we're going to show some of them.
Sure.
There's so much. But in this picture is one of my one of my favorite newer released items. And I will. You're never going to guess which one it is, so I'm just going to say it. And if for those at home, it's kind of hidden. It's kind of obscured. It's in the back. It looks like just some vines hanging down, sort of behind Mama. If you know what Mama is, the musical apparatus, music machine, or whatever from the Dudley Moore episode. But that is a candle. It's an electric candle with a battery that was put out by Hallmark, and I think that is just a really cool piece. It's so well done, and
I do love the artistry on it.
He's got it. He's gonna come bring it here. So let me get rid of this. And you can see the candle a little bit better. Look at that thing. It's really cool. Yeah. So it's got Kermit Miss Piggy on a canoe or a raft or a boat, almost in like the same scene from The Little Mermaid, right? It's like almost like the Kiss the Girl scene, but with Kermit and Miss Piggy. Very, very cool. Very well done. So I was happy to see that in your collection. All right. So how about you show us your first item, like your first, you have a couple items that are your favorites. Let's see what you got. What do you got?
You and I actually discussed this a while back. So we know about like the PVC figures from Fraggle Rock in like the early 80s. And they had, the main five. They had the 3 Gorgs. They had 3 Doozers. And then the 2 hardest that were the most difficult to find were Sprocket and Uncle Matt. And I finally found them. They were in amazing condition. And you know as well as I do, when you're looking for rare stuff on eBay, not only are you trying to find them, you're trying to find them in really good condition. You don't want to see them dirty. You don't want to see them missing a tail. You don't want to see like a chip, and you don't want to see like a chip. I remember I used to have a Pogorg figure, had a massive chip into like right below his eye. And then when I got it, I was like, oh, you showed the other side on purpose. I see what you did. So, but no, I got the Uncle Matt and Sprocket. They're very rare. They're from the German Schleich company. And they're a big favorite of mine. So I'm a big fan, especially of like little figurines and figures and whatnot. So, but I also love the artist rendering, kind of like that candle. I love like the artist rendering of some of the So right in front of the Electric Mayhem, you see Statler, Sweden, Sam, Animal Gonzo. Those are also from the German Schleich company. Those were released, correct me if I'm wrong, in 76, 77?
Yeah, something like that. And they spawned bootlegs. The line was shrunk down and released in the 80s as well. It kept, so it's the full line. I mean, there's a lot of figures. And Nigel, the conductor Nigel, was actually supposed to be part of the line as well. But he never made it past the prototype stage or the concept stage, because poor Nigel never got any love. He just kind of went by the wayside. He hosted Muppet Show Sex and Violence, and basically then he was relegated to orchestra pit conductor and rarely seen again.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Nigel, I got something for you right here. A friend of mine from high school he's an amazing toy sculptor. And what he did was he took Theater Usher Scooter, and it was all my idea, and he executed it very well. He made Nigel from the pit, and I really love it. Again, it's from the Theater Usher Scooter figure from Muppet Stick Manhattan. He redid the whole head. He did the eyes. He gave him hair. He really had to buff him down just to get him, more of a Nigel look, which is funny because Nigel kind of looks like the cross between Scooter and a Muppet. So it really wasn't that hard of a Muppet. Sorry, Scooter and a Fraggle.
Right,
So
right. I figured that's what you meant, but I was like,
yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, he's kind of got that the beakish look, and I don't know. He kind of like you. I kind of wish they had done more with that character, and they certainly have room to bring him out now.
So yeah. So speaking of that Nigel, I had a feeling you might bring him up. So I wanted to also bring up the fact that you have been known to either have made, get customs made for you, like that Nigel you just showed, or have, you've bought a lot of customs.
Yeah.
So, and figures that relate to the Palisades line that have never been made. So we have those. I mean, you have a whole bunch here, and I'm going to show everyone these as well. This is a whole bunch of, and it will come up here in a second.
Oh, here we go.
A whole bunch of Muppet monsters. So we have Boppity and Gloat, and of course Sweetums is the only one in that lineup there that was actually officially released. So actually a Dogline. Dogline was a small figure they put out in the PVC kind of line that Palisades did.
Right.
But everybody else, we got Mean Mama, you got Timmy, you got a Beautiful Day Monster. I mean, and just really well done. So tell me, and tell everybody here who made these for you, how you got these, and like you said, Nigel was your idea. Were these your idea, or were these already together, or what?
So I had found on eBay. This is not long after they had sold the backstage playset, and Palisades was basically closing up shop. There was a guy on eBay, and I wish I could remember his name. However, while I cannot remember his name, he still to this day has the Gorgon Heap and Beautiful Day Monster on his eBay for sale. So if you just go to eBay, type in Beautiful Day Monster or Gorgon Heap Monster, I can 98% guarantee you'll see him there still. And this guy,
I don't think anymore, because as soon as this goes out and the people watching see this, gone. They will pay the $1,000 or whatever the guy is asking for these.
I only 85.
80. Well, that's really not bad, because these are really, really well done.
Yes, they are.
In my collection, there's so many things. If you start getting into customs and fan fiction and fan made items, the gamut just goes crazy, right? So I try to limit my collection to just a licensed stuff, but there are a few things that I've there's few exceptions. These tempting. These may have to be an exception in some way, shape, or form, because man, there's a couple that are just really, really cool.
I was ever since I saw the Frog Prince at a very young age. I remember maybe 3 years old, terrified of Sweetums. And I really like that picture. So these are we'll obviously get into it, but I do a lot. I try to split my toy photography shots between Palisades and the Diamond Select. I try to even it out, because they both have their own beauty. They both have certain things I really like about them. But I really wanted the monsters just because of the whole Frog Prince thing that I'd seen when I was a kid. And then there was a segment I also saw not long after the Muppets had celebrated 30 years. And there's a segment where Sweetums interrupts it, and he goes, everything, in the old days had monsters in it. And it shows this clip of all these monsters and more, like doing random bits and things blowing up and all sorts of really cool, fun gags. And, the explosions are one of my favorite. The monsters eating people and the explosions are probably my two favorite things from the Muppet Show. And so I have a soft spot for all the ugly monsters.
Yeah, they're that whole segment, right? They're ugly. They're ugly as sin. Beautiful's out. Ugly's in. If you're ugly like me, you're in good company. You're and then it goes on. There's a million of us that are ugly. That's it. Exactly. Yeah. That whole special was just was one of the best specials.
You know, it's funny that aired exactly 1 week after I was born in '85. I looked that up.
They,
I was like,
they knew it. They knew you were coming. They're like, oh, Lucas is here. Let's get the special rolling.
well, and it's such a neat special because you see all three of the main worlds: the Muppets, the Fraggles, and Sesame Street. And it's, you know, one of only very few times that you actually see them all together. Which
yeah, that's a shame. I mean, the funny thing is, it was the Muppets a celebration of 30 years, and that was like 85. You realize 30 years prior, 1955 is when they started making their appearances on Ed Sullivan and on the Sam and Friends and all that stuff. So
yeah,
it's like, wow, okay. So I always thought, growing up in that period of time, that every X amount of years we would get a special like that. With 35 years, okay, what is going to happen in 25? Another 25 years will be the 55th anniversary, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So every show that came out after that, I was like, ooh, this is going to be cool to see these characters with whatever. Well, that all blew up twofold from, when Jim Henson passed away, and then when Disney bought the characters, and now they're all split up by different, companies.
Right.
You really, really rarely ever see them together anymore. And it becomes a big feat with the lawyers to make some money off the I'm trying to get all that settled up.
I tell you, Chris, if it ever does happen where they combine Muppets and Fraggles and Sesame Street, it's going to be like Roger Rabbit, where Mickey Mouse has to have exactly the same amount of screen time as Bugs Bunny. Like it's going to be so noticeable and blatant.
I don't know. I mean, they've had a couple things now. Like they did a couple shows in Australia. They did a live show in Australia where they all were together, and they did a show in New York back, almost like 10 years plus years ago at this point.
You're talking about that big symphony show, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I saw parts of that. That was beautiful.
To be there in person, you had this giant. It was at Carnegie Hall, and you had the whole Carnegie Hall. Like it was a full house. It was sold out. I think it was like 2 or 3 shows of it, whatever. I was at one show, and man, the whole place when they were, everyone was singing along. It was, all right. So this gets to one of our topics. It was almost like us being at the Hollywood Bowl, right? We were at the Hollywood Bowl show together. I talked about this with Rachel because we had talked about going, and then I was like, oh, we're going to be out in LA. Why don't you join us? So then Rachel, this whole thing. So you came out and got tickets for 2 nights, right? You were originally going to come out for 1, and then you came out for 2. So tell me about. I know how my experience was. Tell me about your experience.
Seriously, so I had this party a couple of weeks ago, and I was celebrating. This is the year I had open heart surgery 35 years ago, so I wanted to do kind of a little party, and I had some friends roast me. I had some friends I had a professor from college give a talk about me. I had a friend of mine sing "Being Green." Like he listened to the Ray Charles version, and he sang beautifully. It was everybody's favorite part of the night. But I went up and talked at the end, and I talked about just how lucky I am, and one of the things I mentioned, and it's one of the highlights of my entire life, was you inviting me to the Hollywood Bowl, because that was it was the most insane experience, because not only did we get to sit there for 2.5 hours and watch an actual Muppet show unfold live with a 20-minute fireworks show at the end.
Yeah.
You also got me backstage to meet the powerhouse of puppeteers, and we went to that. I remember we went to that Mos Eisley Cantina, that Star Wars Cantina bar, which was such a great topper for the evening, by the way. And you kept at Luke, are you okay? Are you good? Because I was dead quiet. Like I couldn't believe that I met Dave Goles, Karen Prell, Bill Beretta, Bobby Moynihan. Like I met all these people. I was like, I can't believe that just happened to me.
I can't take all the credit for that, because I was trying, my hardest to be able to work that deal. And between myself and Rachel, we were able to pull it off. because she pulled some strings too. Because I was like, oh, I have a little surprise. She goes, well, I have a surprise for you too. I'm like, and it was the same surprise. We were surprising each other with the exact same surprise, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, that was something else because the second night, we were both there.
We went Thursday and Saturday because I flew home Sunday.
Okay, so right,
2 shows.
And I think Rachel was actually there all 3 nights. The 2 shows we were at, right? So the Thursday we got there, and it was like, I mean, it was crowded. We saw, Muppet fans from all over the country. Some are probably even watching here. All this stuff. And there was actually a lot of celebrities.
Yes.
I'm not sure which day we saw more of, but there was like celebrities just kind of like around, like they were there just to watch the show. And it was LA, right? So, you see celebrities all the time. So it was great because we like ran into Jack McBrayer as we like walked in. We saw all these people. We saw Rhys Darby's from Flight of the Conchords that has a new show on HBO Max. Like all these guys like just like walking around. It was just really crazy. And then to see, then obviously we got to be kind of like in the VIP area, and then the reverse happened the Saturday night where they wouldn't let us back in there because it was filled with all the Hollywood celebrities that were like huge Muppet fans. So like Chris Hardwick was in there, and a couple of guys from Mad Men. Like it was like you walk around and like, what? Like look at all these people. It was like famous people just fanning out. It was hilarious to see. It was like, wow, look at like that. Like everyone is just like completely fanboying over each other in this little area.
The guy who played who's the dad from Modern Family?
Ty Burrell.
Yes, he was back there. I could see Patton Oswalt back there. There were a lot of celebrities I could see him. Oh my God, there's even more people. And so, but yeah, like I think we flew too close, or at least I did. I think I flew too close to the sun Thursday night. That Saturday, there's no way I was going to have that level of luck again. Because did you see Paul Williams? I didn't see him. I didn't know if you did or not.
I mean, on stage I saw him, but he didn't come out Thursday night.
That's right. No, he wasn't there Thursday. But
I think he might have came out and talked to people Saturday night. Because when I finally met Paul Williams, maybe a year or so later at, I think it was the Museum of the Moving Image, I brought just like a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I've been in the room with you. Like I've been in the same venue and the same room with you like 15 times, like some kind of crazy number. Like I've been in the room with you like at least 4 or 5 times and have missed you every time for some whatever reason. So I just brought all this stuff. I'm like, here's from the Hollywood Bowl show, and here's from the Muppet movie, and here's from this, and here's from this thing you were at. And
wow.
He's like, oh my God. And he signed like everything for me. He was, such a cool guy. So
he's
nice.
Guys, when you see him in interviews, like he's just such a sweetheart. Like he's so happy that you love this. He's one of those people I would love to meet because he's just so enthusiastic about the fans.
Okay, so I want to get back to the toy photography. So we talked about your love for the Palisades line and the Diamond Select line. That's how you got into it. Now I want to show this. Let's see if I can bring this up here, and we will show this. So I love the mixture of things. So this is not. I mean, obviously these are all. Well, the Rolf and the Fozzie are from the Diamond Select line, and you made them Jedi, of course. And then I love the R2D2s. So this is really great. I have another one I want to show in a second, but I want to talk about how you got into doing these the toy photography of it, like because it's not just pictures of toys. There is an artistry that I think you've really captured. That I mean, I take pictures of toys all the time, right? But nothing looks like this. I mean, you really have a nice like depth to things. You really capture the spirit of the characters. We'll show you a little bit. I don't want to spoil anything. We have some surprises. I have some surprises for you in a minute. But I want if you can just let me know, like, how this piece, because you started with the page, and then your love for the figures, and all of a sudden it grew into this whole other piece of it that is really amazing to watch.
Well, and I especially love doing shots like this where I get to combine the Muppets and Star Wars. Every now and then I'll do one of these, and I really enjoy it because it's kind of a tricky thing. You have to make them both blend together, right? Initially on this shot, I think I had wanted, I want to say it was Fozzie and Kermit, but the robe didn't fit Kermit very well, and he kept falling over. And then I tried it on Rolf, and the brown one fit Rolf perfectly. And so I just gave him a green lightsaber. And of course, I wanted Fozzie, of course, to look like the Padawan. And Fozzie is still wearing his bow tie. I have it tucked underneath his cloak there. But I wanted them both to look like Jedi. And yeah, I'm somebody like I will when I do shots like this. This one shot uh, takes at least maybe 20 to 30 snaps of the camera, and then I sift through all those to see which angle I like. I like to make sure, like you were saying, like the textures. I want people to see everything about that shot. And even today, like I'm seeing things like this photo's maybe a couple years old. I still like it, and I do appreciate you showing it. But I'm only looking at things I would have done differently now. Like for example,
That's always the way. As an
yeah,
artist, we're never satisfied. It's a gorgeous piece. It looks fantastic. I hate
yeah.
it.
Well, and I especially love. It makes sense that Rolf is the master and Fozzie's the Padawan. So that's kind of how I wanted it to look. And recently I did one because I'm a big stand-up fan as well. I did one with Bill Burr, who's in The Mandalorian, and he's in his character outfit and all. And I did put him holding a rubber chicken with all the Muppets as the Star Wars cast, which those figures were released by Disney and only sold in Disney stores for the longest time. And I don't get to use those as often because they those figures, they are nice, and I love having them as part of my collection. But the looks of them are very oversaturated and very glossy. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and they're beautiful and it's cool to have them. I mean, I would never think I'd get a Link Hogthrob as Han Solo figure, but they, it. I did that shot recently in front of like the Muppet curtain whenever they say goodnights. So stuff like that, I love. I like just experimenting with different things. Like the backstage, I'll have like Bryan Cranston, like a Breaking Bad figure, or Jim Carrey's Ace Ventura, like just different things to make it look like they hosted the show. So I like doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I have a couple of those I pulled as well that you sent over, and I'm trying to, if I could find one of those to bring up here. Uh, but in the meantime, let's see if I can show. I don't know if I brought any of those over. I'm going to show some other things here.
Sure, sure.
Let's bring
Well,
this one in.
okay.
So
Oh,
also,
yeah.
besides just being inside, you've taken the figures outside as well, sort of
Yeah.
like the Muppets themselves, right? They were in the show, they were all kind of in their own little world, and then they decided to bring the figures and the puppets outside. So you brought the action figures outside,
Yeah.
and it brings a whole other dimension to them as well. And you
I
see something like this Hoggle figure, which is highly detailed. And I'm going to zoom in here so everybody can kind of see what we're
yeah.
talking about. But I mean, this is a figure. It's by I think McFarlane Toys did this, and the shot that you've done here. I mean, I mean, let's just be honest here. It's a pretty simple shot. It's just Hoggle just walking through the woods or something wherever you stage this, but
Yeah.
it really has a cinematic quality to it. I can we can go right up his nose. I mean, it's really nice. I mean, but
Yeah.
like
Get all
it's
the
got this real like lived in look
yeah.
that was really
Again,
nice.
I'll take 20 to 30 shots inside my toy studio slash toy room. I'll take 50 to 70 outside because when you're dealing with natural light, there's sometimes when you're looking at it, you're not getting the actual depth, and you're not seeing the focus. You're not seeing a lot of things just because you got the light shining on the screen that you're looking at. So really, I'm just adjusting the lens every which way for every shot. and then praying to God when I get back inside, I can look at through all those and be like, yes, that's the one I want to size up and work on. And initially, that's shot because that hoggle comes with the peach. I had him holding up the peach. I was like, no, I don't have I don't have a Sarah figure to hold it up with. So I was like, just keep his arms to the side, have him look to the side. And I really like that shot a lot. I was very happy with how that one turned out.
Here, I kind of just spoiled it for a second there, but here's another one that's really cool.
Yeah.
And here we have Kermit, fishing. This was really neat. The only thing missing is a fish. He's sitting there. He's just chilling. I guess should he be catching flies or should he be catching? Is he? Oh, I got it. He's fly fishing. That's what's happening here? He's fly fishing.
That's right. Yeah.
So
that was another one. Working with natural light, it's a lot of me adjusting the lens, like just very, very subtly, and then getting different angles. I got from the left to right, head on. And then working outside, working in water too. Like, God forbid I drop my camera right into the water, because I'm in the middle of that pond or that stream right there trying to get that shot.
So Max Savings asks, how long did it take to set up the shot?
So setting up the shot is kind of a difficult thing, because when you are setting up a shot, how you initially set up the figure is going to change by the time you're done shooting that figure. For example, just look at how one of Kermit's flippers is angled downwards and one's angled upwards. I also had to adjust the arm that isn't holding the fishing pole to make it look like it was still holding the fishing pole, because sometimes you'll get the other hand like sticking out and it just doesn't look right. So yeah, God, getting shots like that, I'm so happy with how they turned out. But it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of patience to really get the angle that you're kind of envisioning. And a lot of times the thing you're envisioning changes quite a bit when you actually, get back to your house and start rifling through your photos, and you're like, wow, this is even better than I imagined. So.
Well, that's what happens. And here we have another one that's back inside the theater. And again, a mix of Star Wars and the Muppets together. And I think this is great. And it's like you said, it's in the details and in the thing. So you got Robin just hiding in the back, be like, "Hey, Uncle Kermit, is that our nephew? Is that our?" I mean, because Yoda's sort of a Muppet anyway. I mean, he's got the Frank Oz connection. He was, the Muppets. There's pictures of Kermit and Miss Piggy on the Empire set, because they shot Empire Strikes Back across the street, not the street, but in the same studio across the streets, at the same studio at Elstree, I guess. That's where they shot Empire Strikes Back. So the characters were right there. They just walked across the street. So this is kind of cool. It's like a Homecoming the opposite way, because they Mark Hamill, or Luke Skywalker and his cousin Mark Hamill, and C-3PO, Chewbacca, and R2-D2 were all on the Muppet Show, because again they were right across the street. So it's so funny, but I just love Robin kind of peeking out in the back there. That it's just hilarious.
I got to tell you too, for anybody who's curious about doing toy photography, sticky tack is your friend. Robin is peering out that way because of sticky tack, and Kermit is sitting there because of sticky tack. He's not just sitting there like on his own. Like, I couldn't perch him up without him falling over. He doesn't have that lower body type of whatever. So
there you go. Yeah, so the trick is, ticky tack, museum putty, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Sean here says this reminds me of the Star Wars episode for the Muppet Show. That's what we're talking. Exactly, Sean.
Well, and also something I also wanted to kind of convey with that shot, going back to my love of the monsters. One of the first things I saw as a kid was a clip of Kermit singing "I Grow Accustomed to Your Face" with Yorick slowly eating him as he's singing. And so, because Grogu is famous for eating frogs on The Mandalorian, I kind of wanted to give it that kind of subtle look to it.
Beware frogs, Muppet frogs, because Grogu has a taste for frogs, and Hey, do not get Grogu and Doc Hopper in the same room because Grogu at this point in the Mandalorian, he's spoiler alert, he's not quite good, he's not quite bad. He turned down the Jedi, the Jedi ways. So hey, it could be enticed, to use his powers for evil, and Doc Hopper could get some easy access to fried frog legs, but from his help. All right, so why don't you show me what your next item? What else you got there?
So we were talking about
some other stuff.
Let's see.
So there he is, right there. We're talking about those customs. Another wow, beautiful day monster.
I love like the speckled like little dots to make him like his fur has that like that dirty ruffled look from like the Paul Williams episode, the Got Anything Cheaper sketch.
Got anything cheaper?
Yeah.
I can roll you up and put you in a bus to Poughkeepsie or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and people can tell if you look at the arms and legs. This was from the Series 2 Fozzie. This was made out of. A lot of the ones that I had gotten from this seller on eBay, he had taken extra Muppet toys that he had from the Palisades line, including Super Grover that he turned into Boppity, which I don't think a whole lot of people would be okay with giving up their Super Grover to turn into some random background monster. But no,
those Super Grovers, the Super Grovers are super hard to find and can go for quite a bit of money these days.
Oh yeah. Gosh, what else? Tell me if you have this in your collection. I think you do. The Muppet Guys Talking DVD signed by Frank Oz.
I do. I was part of that Kickstarter or whatever it was, like the crowdfunding that they did for that. So I do have I can see it's over there on my wall. What I would suggest, here's what I did. I went to Michael's, and Michael's or AC, I think it's Michael's. They had like a CD frame that you can purchase. So the top has a little space for the booklet, and the bottom has a thing that you can stick a CD into, and it's all done. So that's how I have it displayed.
I think I need to do that because honestly, I've been keeping this away from everything else.
I'm going to put this picture up, and I will grab it off the wall. I'll put this picture, and we can talk about this guy here. I love this. This is great.
Oh, thank you. This is one of my favorite ones I did too. I just, again, the crazier the character, the more I love them. Like, obviously I love Kermit and Piggy and Fozzie and those guys. But when you start getting into like Crazy Harry or New Zealand or Sweetums, like those guys, like those are some of the characters that I really enjoy. And when Diamond Select did this Crazy Harry, it blew the Palisades one out of the water, I thought. I love his eyes. I love that his mouth can open really wide. And that bomb I got from a Sideshow Bob character from my Simpsons collection, because Diamond Select wouldn't release any TNT or bombs with the Crazy Harry figure. And so I was like, I'm just going to use this bomb. It fit perfectly into his hand. And then, I just set up Statler and Waldorf. I want to say, is it the Ben Vereen episode where he's up in the balcony and he blows up the balcony, I think?
I believe you're right. That sounds about right.
Yeah. But, I just like that visual of him being up there and, Statler and Waldorf, hit the dirt, and it just blows up. So, stuff like that, those little moments of insanity in the show are just so much fun and very creative. Something I've been telling people lately, people tend to think of Muppets as, just for kids today. In my own humble opinion, I kind of feel like the Muppets in their heyday were for the lost generation of hippies who appreciated show business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Muppets have always been subversive in that way. They've always been kind of poking fun of whatever medium they're in. The Muppet Show, was a kind of a spoof on variety shows that, when you see the early episodes, you realize like what they're going for. And then it became so big. Like the Muppet Show is sort of like, the characters are putting on this show for other Muppets, right? Like the audience is full of Muppets. Like they're putting it on because they have this desire to put on a show, and whoever shows up to watch it, awesome, right? And you get the feeling they somehow coerce or convince somewhat famous people to show up so that maybe more people will watch the show, right?
Yeah,
I'm talking about, like, in the theory, in canon of the universe of the show itself, right? So you have that, and then the show itself, in reality, blew up so big that you have like really, really massive guest stars like Elton John all of a sudden, and then like now, like, wait, now we actually kind of have to do a actual show that's actually real and not just like a spoof of shows. So you can kind of see that shift in like the second, third kind of season. You're like, oh, now they're actually making this show for real, and there's still like these these things that are like the show's still going wrong and this thing's going wrong. Like, there's like, wow, we actually have to like do this. It's kind of interesting to see, but it's fun.
Well, and you touched on something that I always found kind of interesting when you're talking about inside that bubble, inside the universe of the Muppet Studio. When you think of how, from their perspective, how rare it was to get these Linda Carters and Chris Reeves and Mark Hamill's, because every now and then, they'd be like, oh, this guest is a lot better than last week's host. And they'll be like, well, who was your host last week? Oh, Clive Coenga, the singing civil servant. Or Zuzu Fitzwaller, the Hungarian water juggler. Like, just, you realize just how small that show is. And then they're just thanking God that, Liza Minnelli or Tony Randall stopped by,
So it's funny, right? In the context of the show, the episode where they have the awards show, right? There's a fake award show, and they give out awards for like the best guest star and all this stuff. And they have there's this whole song about all the guest stars.
Yes.
But they only mention the humans, the human guest stars. They don't mention like the fake Muppet guest stars. So I don't know if that's a continuity error or or what. But yeah, Zuzu Fitzwaller does not get another shout out, or not even in contention. Not even in contention for being the best guest star. Nor does Angus McGonigal. I'm not sure if he was around before that episode. But yeah, so the other non-actual real Muppet real guest stars were not included. But it is funny to remember, like, oh yeah, they do this show. I don't think the cameras are rolling sometimes. They forget the cameras aren't on, right?
Right. There is that, and Jim just did not, for lack of a better expression, he didn't give a shit about continuity, about who's really in the audience, about, the guest stars and the fake guest stars that were actual Muppets. Like, just, is this real? Is it a TV show? Is it a theater? All of that just gets, if you really start to think about it, you get kind of bogged down in the details. But then you look at how Jim Henson just kind of threw things together in kind of like an ad hoc way. He really just didn't give a shit. He beelined towards what he wanted the show to be about, and the show was massive. And Jim was the one who decided, after 5 years, when they were at their absolute top, he decided, you know what, I'm ready to do something else now. Like, that's, not many people do that.
Speak of the man. Speak of the man. Can I bring it up? Maybe. There we go.
I really love doing this one when Sesame Street, because they had their stamps that came out, and that was right around the time that Jim Henson with Ernie and the Jim Henson with Kermit one came out. And I was pretty happy with how that one turned out.
And it's neat because it's not just like against a blank backdrop. It's him with Ernie, and then you use the Sesame Street stamps as your backdrop, so you have a lot of characters in the back. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah. No. So this one, when I was a kid, you probably know about these. They had sold. Gosh, I bet you they're about 20 years old now. They had sold these Zing into Spring Kermit and Piggy plush dolls, and they came with little tapes. And they both had
I literally just got one of those, and it'll be in a future video that I show it off, because I had always seen the Miss Piggy, and I'd never seen the it's very rare to see the Kermit, and it's even rarer to find it with the tape, because the tape is a sampler of all the Henson music that was being released at that time. So there's songs from the Muppet Show, the Muppet Movie, and Fraggle Rock, all on this cassette. And two things are interesting. One, the rainbow it's only on one side of the tape, or maybe it's the same thing on both sides.
They're on both sides, but it's the same songs.
Right. So the same thing is on both sides of the tape, which is odd.
Yeah.
And I was literally just looking at this the other day, so that's fresh in my mind. It says it's the Rainbow Connection, but it's snippets.
Yes.
Snippets from the Rainbow Connection. They couldn't fit the whole. You have two sides of a tape, but they only wanted to put it on one side. So it's snippets of the Rainbow Connection, and it includes an exclusive song, which is that Zip Into Sing you're talking about, which has never been released on anything else ever again, only on this weird, it's on this tape.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. So I'm not sure why they did that. I mean, why would you have this, I don't know. So it's very, and it was a Target exclusive. And now they just came out with a new Target exclusive, Kermit with a banjo. Chris Miglon, I always screw your name up. I'm sorry, Chris. I always screw it up. Smig. We always just call him Smig.
Oh, yeah.
Smig says, by the way, I just found the Target Kermit plush, the new one that just came out. So there's a new exclusive Target Kermit plush that also is somewhat in reference to the Rainbow Connection.
Okay.
And only 40 years later.
Banjo?
Yes, he has a banjo.
Yes. Okay. I've seen it, not in stores, but I've seen it online. But
well, we can show that in a second. I want you to. We're gonna make you the big guy here. Show us your next item. We'll make you the big guy, and I will show get that Kermit for you.
Well, I was gonna say, so that link picture you showed up. Now, were edited, except for the rhyming song. The rhyming song was played entirely through on the tape. And when I first heard that, I didn't know. There we go. Yeah. And I always found it funny as a little kid because Frank Oz apparently wrote that song, the rhyming song. And Link has that line, the stars are twinkling in the sky, the rhyming song, the rhyming song. There's no hot water in my hotel, the rhyming song, the rhyming song. And then it immediately cuts to Scooter singing, trying to sing, this is not the rhyming song. And, I always thought that was kind of funny, and I liked that song when I was a kid. So I wanted to do that shot of Link singing his verse. But, one of the many crimes of Palisades, even though they released so many, it would have been great to get an Annie Sue figure. And I also, just today, I got these in the mail. Whenever you're ready, I had something else I was going to show you too. Okay. Can you hear me, by the way?
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
I muted myself, and I'm not even in focus right now, so I don't know what's going on.
Fine. But anyway, so I just got these in the mail. They're by Patti LaPel. I found her on eBay, and let's see. Yeah, she has her own website. I bought these. I got an Ocean Breeze soap pen.
They'll get you clean.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I got these from Patti LaPel, and then I have one in the bag. I have the actual sign, Doc Hopper's French fried frog leg sign from the movie, and I got that as a pin as well. I'm not much of a pin collector, but every now and then I'll see something like, oh, that's really rare and distinct. I wanna pick that up. So, but yeah. I'm sorry, but
I muted myself. That's when the fan art stuff is really cool because they do things that are not being released, officially. So that's when it's neat. Like when you buy something like, oh, here's like a menu from Doc Hopper's, or here's like a logo, right? Something that's not being made. That's really cool. Something to make it unique. So I have here is the Kermit that we're talking about.
Okay.
So it comes with his little banjo. Where's it? Yeah, there we go. Here's the banjo.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, this is part of Kid Robot's Funny, PUNNY line.
Nice.
And these are only available at Target as part of NECA, who owns Kid Robot. Put these out, and they have a deal with Target. They're exclusive to Target, and they do once a week. They put out a whole bunch of new figures as part of a toy haul-a-thon that they're doing. And this was one of the first weeks. Was this Kermit? There'll be another one that's out. I think it's a larger plush, and it has a rainbow as well.
Yeah.
That'll be the more available one, but this is like the Target exclusive. So if you can find it, they're out there. But they're weird because you can't just go on Target's website and say, "Hey, do you have this?" It's one of those like funky things where like you have to go in store. They get like maybe 2 or 3 per store or whatever it is. So
right. Well, now I'm gonna have to look because I got a little nephew who I would love to get a Kermit doll for. So
see, there you
if
go.
I find it, I'll get it. But yeah, no, that's really cool. And did you find it in stores or did you have to?
Yeah. So the whole reason that the Muppet Stuff blog that even exists in any form at all is a couple buddies of mine forever ago started just texting back and forth about we would find merchandise in the store because there was no real good way to find it. So we was like, "Oh, did you see this? Oh, did you see it? This thing's coming out?" You're like, "Oh, this is kind of interesting." So that I had no idea this was coming out. I can only be on top of so much things, right? So many things. So I was not aware that this was even coming out. And a buddy of mine was like, "Hey, did you go to Target and get that Kermit?" And I'm like, "What Kermit? What? How did I miss something?" And he goes, "Oh, well, these other stores don't have it, but but I'm getting it from a friend of mine. He already found it for me, blah blah." So I was like, "Well, all right, I'm gonna go do a little pilgrimage to another Target and just see what happens." Yeah. And the Henson gods were with me this day because not only did I find the Kermits at the Target, I went out to a thrift store afterwards, and it was just like it was what I call the blue bins of death. You ever go to the Goodwills that have just like the blue bins, and you just gotta they sell you everything by weight, and you just you just shuffle through things without getting tetanus, hopefully. But I just found tons, like Muppet book, like all kinds of Muppet baby books, just like what is happening today? So that's what it's all about. So that's sort of what I like to do with the Muppet Stuff blog, is to get people out, go to stores, go online, buy stuff, and then you have these adventures that you didn't know you were gonna even have because like, oh well, this thing is out now. Let me go do something, and all of a sudden something else snowballs from that.
I was at a vintage toy store here 20 minutes away from me a couple of months ago. Went in, they had the Fisher Price scooter with the rock hard shoes, and they had like 20 different Muppet Palisades figures. Marvin Suggs, Lou Zealand, Samuel Arrow, Beauregard, Robin is the Frog Scout. Like, they were each for like $45 or more each. So I was like, well, even though like I have all of these, this is just so cool to see them out in the wild like this. And you're probably like you were just saying, when you see this stuff out in the wild, like on your own, you just happen upon it. Like, oh my god, that's the coolest thing ever. So even if you own it,
right? It's right. You don't see them all the time. Sometimes you see these things and there's I don't want to show it just yet. I don't want to show it just yet.
Sure.
I just want to bring it into the anyway. So you see these things are so cool. Sometimes you get good deals, and like if you get a good deal on it, get it open, and then you can do some cool toy photography with it, or do some creative with it. Because I'm a mitten box collector. If I'm going to open something, you best be sure I have a second one that's still in the box. That's how this crazy rolls.
Well, considering the depth of your collection, I mean that makes sense. I mean, you gotta. That's what I would do if I were you.
Speaking of, well, how about your collection? Let's see what else you got over there. Did you bring anything else for us to see?
Yeah. So when I was a little kid, about 6 years old, we went to Disney World, and I'm gonna try and get it so the light doesn't, get it. But I remember seeing this. I didn't get it at the time, and I remember regretting not getting it at the time. But here, not that long ago, less than a year ago, I found this on eBay, still in the box, in great condition. And I was very excited to get this. And I'm not taking this one out of the box. But yeah, stuff like that, like just super rare. Something that
Well, bring that back on screen again, real
sure,
quick.
sure. Something that just
Because
has like
I really like this. The thing is, I mean, that people should understand that are watching this now, later, whenever, is that just because you see something at Disney World, sometimes you'll see something and it's like you're there all the time. You're like, oh, there's a Mickey plush or there's a Minnie plush. I've seen this all, blah, blah. Well, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll make certain little tweaks to it. Or, and like that thing, it's there for a year, maybe, and then they never make it again. So what's cool about that set is that it's got Bean Bunny because it's Muppet Vision 3D, and they don't make a whole lot of Bean Bunny stuff. So that's really cool. And if you could bring it back up, I want to show people one little thing.
But I also look at Piggy as Lady Liberty.
Yes, they made, and that's actually the second Lady Liberty Piggy they made. They made a separate PVC of her as well. But the cool thing is, Gonzo fits inside that cannon, so you can kind of have him coming out. I mean, I don't have mine out, but you can. But that's what it's supposed to do. That cannon, you can kind of, it has a hole, and you could fit him in there, I believe, as well as Beaker or Bean. None of the other characters will fit in there, but you can fit. You can fit. I think you can fit Bean in there, and I think you can fit Beaker in there as well. Maybe I think only head first, so his legs could be sticking out.
Sure, yeah. No, that's pretty cool. If you want, I'll read the back.
Yes, please do.
So, and this is something very Jim Henson-y that he loves, along with whatever he's selling. He likes, a little bit of pizzazz on the back. This dazzling and highly comical attraction is a wacky 3D experience, shown in a specially designed theater that comes alive with Muppet Vision. The show delivers laughter and surprises as a host of Muppet characters appear live, and special effects literally rock the theater walls. On screen, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and his hilarious assistant Beaker guide the audience through the mysterious workings of Muppet Labs. All the Muppets work busily to display the wonders of 3D, but nothing really goes as planned. Mayhem breaks out when Miss Piggy's big musical number falls apart, and by the end of this wonderfully chaotic extravaganza, your belly will ache with laughter. Figurines include Kermit, Miss Piggy, Gonzo, Fozzie, Bean, Beaker, and a cannon.
So Smig is saying that the Beaker's head can go up and down.
No kidding.
He must have it. Here we're going to show it. Beaker's head can go up and down. So I guess Smig opened his packages and he opened this one up where he found one loose or something. And so these are things, these are details us mitten package collectors may not know all the time, right? So we need it's a yin and a yang thing. We need you guys that open these things up to tell us these things sometimes. Yeah. Otherwise, we would never know.
And that's the thing. I'm not somebody who keeps a whole lot like still in the box. Like I love to display. I like setting mine up almost like a museum where people can, like really look in depth at the character and the accessories and whatever they're doing.
Well, and the thing with the Palisades, I mean, not to poo-poo the Diamond Select because they're great too, but the Palisades really set a standard, not just for Muppet toys, but for action figures as a whole, and the detail and like you said, the accessories that came with it, like just are on a whole other level. That's why even I've heard from action figure collectors that say like, the Muppet figures are probably one of, if not the best action figure line of almost all time, because of the detail and the accessories.
That's one thing I really loved about like deep diving on like the toy collecting world is you find these people who collect, Palisades, NECA, Hasbro, Playmates. Like you find like there's these different people in these different worlds. Are like, oh, I prefer this toy company the most because they have the best articulation, or I like this company because they none of their figures have like extra gloss. Like it's really neat when you talk to these different people about what they love most. But you're right. One thing I started realizing, and I'm sure you did too, when the Palisades line really hit its stride, like everybody was like, this is what every other toy franchise should strive to be like. Fozzie's fur, Piggy's hair later on.
Yeah, the first Piggy was not great. The second Piggy was much better. Right.
That Pigs in Space Piggy still holds up very well.
And that's the thing. Like you're saying, like I think part of the reason why it was a double-edged sword, right? So part of the reason why some action figures lines, the action figure lines don't do so well is because they can't take the time to really put that level of detail and the quality control in. And the other piece of it is why Palisades kind of went out, is because they probably couldn't afford to manufacture it that way, because it was just so time consuming, and the quality control they had was so good and so tight that like it just was unsustainable at some point. I mean, I'm not exactly sure all the details of why they went under, and I'm not trying to speculate, but that would seem to be part of it. So
I think
so I have okay.
I was just gonna say, I think that level of quality control, and believe me, they were. When you look at like Pops or Marvin Suggs or Beauregard, you're like, that's the Muppet. That's not just a toy. That looks
right. They really got the texture of the foam and the felt and like all that, and to see characters like you said, Beauregard, Marvin Suggs, Phil Van Neuter, like to see those characters even remotely get a chance to be produced, because that was the only time they'd ever put any of those characters on anything before or basically since.
Well, one thing I would love to know about how they're able to put together the look of a figure when it comes to the Muppet figures is how they had to go from like a puppet who literally exists from the waist up, and many of them who are live hand and they have the sleeve coming out halfway. How did they put together the character from the head to toe and cut out all the puppetry mechanics? Now, hand and rod's easy, but when you get hands that move, and Pops, where his hand comes down for the live hand is different from where Fozzie's hand comes down from. Fozzie's is more up towards the wrist. Dr. Teeth's is right at the wrist. Pops is almost by the elbow. Like, you think about all these little things, plus most of those characters have never even been seen below the waist. How they were able to put all that together, that's like really fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, some of the characters, the major characters, are in the style guides, and they have head to toe versions. So yeah, you can just go for that. I actually was an intern at the Henson Company while they were putting the early characters together, some of the early lines together, and I helped pull images from the archives for them to, like, that was what I did, is like pull the images for those figures. So that's how they could kind of see the different, the backs. Like I remember finding a back image of Clifford from the Jim Henson Hour, and that's how they were able to get the back of him to get the dreads right. So they pulled a lot of different sources of information and images to pull them together. And yes, sometimes they had to just make it up. They had obviously they got the the okay from Henson. They said, can we do this? Here's the look. We're thinking it could be this. But yeah, I mean, the other piece is that Jamie Carroll worked on the sculpts of these, and he is, he knows his stuff as well. So he would look up sources, and he's such a fan as well, that he could already just bring it in, like, okay, we saw Dr. Teeth's feet and those shoes in that scene in the Muppet movie. So it was like, okay, well, we know he's wearing moccasins, and like we never see them before, never see them, before that or after that. But because of that one thing, okay, now we're going to use them. So it's all like this the combination of things. All right, so I have a surprise for you. We've been talking about these figures, and you've talked about how your influence from the show. Now I went ahead and I want to show everybody else how, not just the attention to the detail from the figures, but your attention to detail in somewhat, sometimes recreating skits from the Muppet Show and the Muppet movies. So I have, here we go here, and we're going to pop this in here.
Oh, yeah.
So this is Beaker, doing the it's feelings. He's performing feelings, but because it's Beaker, he never mentions another word besides meep.
Yes.
And so it's, and so we have, your, the figure that exists and your rendition, and then there's the original. Here, let's see if we can bring up the next one. Here we have Dr. Teeth performing Cheesecake. And you can
Yes.
see that there's a little you found a little piece of cheesecake and you have on the top. I mean, obviously,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the I could have went through and found uh, the video clip, right, and found the exact shot that you had used as your reference, but I just found it, approximate, right?
I've never seen these shots side by side, by the way. Like, I'm always, when I'm putting these shots together, like for this one, for example, I'm just working from memory. And yeah, like, and I use different colors. And I purposely chose not to do green just since he's already green. I wanted something else that would make him pop more because I really like that Diamond Select Dr. Teeth. But no, this is really cool seeing them side by side like this.
So yeah, I had thought that you had researched this because I mean, let's like exact. I mean, like I mean, it's very very close to the real thing. So here we have Dr. Teeth again, and
Yeah,
this is him holding the bullhorn,
yeah.
and from the end of the Muppet movie. So that thought that was really cool, and you really get to see the detail that both the puppet and you brought out. So this is a scene from the Diane Carroll episode where Floyd loses a bet basically and has to watch Fufu. So and then he winds up sticking him in the drawer, right? But this is when like Miss Piggy's like telling him how to how to take care of him. It's like, oh, peek, breathe through the keyhole, take your breath,
Yeah, yeah.
So that, like, I mean, you can see like.
I was just gonna say I want to talk about Floyd and also Rolf. Floyd and Rolf. I love Kermit. Obviously, I love Jim's Kermit. I'll say that. When it comes to the Muppet Show, aside from Statler and Waldorf, there is nobody funnier to me than Floyd and Rolf. Like, they cut up. They're kind of adult. They're very snarky. They're sarcastic. They're not interested. At least Floyd isn't interested in anything else besides doing, stuff with the band. I've always, and something I found out about Jerry Nelson as I got older, who played Floyd. He was just the coolest guy in the room. Like, everybody just, really loved hanging around with him. And just the way people talk about Jerry Nelson is like, I can see why Floyd was used so often. Because it's kind of odd that Dr. Teeth was the leader of the band, but Floyd ended up being the spokesman.
Well, I think that had to do with performers, right? Because Jim Henson was always there doing Kermit. That they needed a character for Jerry. There was that was there, and that is one of the things that I feel we'll kind of miss a little bit with Matt Vogel doing Kermit and Floyd now. Is that you really are not going to have that dynamic anymore, which was not always present, and when it was really great because having Floyd, come up in presence and give Kermit the business of how being cool it is. It's so. I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, they can always overdub and stuff. But that natural chemistry between them is obviously not going to be there for a while. But we're going to see a lot more Floyd, a lot more Dr. Teeth, and everybody in the new Muppets Mayhem series coming to Disney Plus. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah,
we will definitely give a shout out for that. All right, we got a couple more things here. I'm going to show you a couple more.
This is so cool that you did this. I've never done side by side shots from the episode and in what I'm trying to do.
So you talked about Inchworm. So we had Inchworm. So you had the black and white shot, and I went through and I found the corresponding clip of this, and I mean. That's so cool. I mean, the way that you found an extra little the end there is it's his tongue. He doesn't realize he's pulling out. I mean, or his nose doesn't realize he's pulling, and then he eats him in the end because he's like, oh, you think you're gonna eat this worm? No, I'm gonna eat you. It's a great little Muppet comeuppance.
You know what's funny is I got the idea from that. The Yoda figure from Hasbro. Hasbro has the Black Series line, and they released a Yoda years ago, and it came with a snake around his neck, which is what the original the 80s toy included. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have Gorgon Heap. What if I just hit him just enough behind a ledge that I can make the snake and have it pull off as if it's the nose. And it ended up, it took a lot of, moving around. There's a lot of space behind Kermit and where the quote unquote curtain is there too, because Morgan Heap's a very large figure. And so, yeah, it took a lot of rearranging and, of course, sticky tack and all that kind of stuff. So
that's the snake from Yoda?
Yeah.
So there's another Star Wars reference hidden in this image that now it has been revealed.
Yes. So I thought, oh, that's perfect, because it kind of has a, what is it, Slimy, Oscar's pet worm.
Yes.
That's what it kind of reminded me of. I was like, I think that could work. Yeah. This is here we go. Yeah.
This was from the end. This is one of the early episodes of Muppet Show, maybe even the first episode, right? So when they have Phenomena, and then he comes at the end and peeks out at the balcony again.
Yeah, that's the famous last line of the first episode, where Waldorf looks at him and goes, "Well, what'd you think?" Beats staying at home watching television, and then Phenomena appears in front of him, or in between them. So, but yeah.
This we have Marvin. So this is a yes. We have no bananas.
Yes. So I'm also, aside from monsters, I always love like the talking fruits and veggies, and I've been dying to do this shot forever, and I could not find like a convincing enough yellow curtain backdrop, and so what I finally ended up doing, it took quite a few Google searches. When I finally found one, my printer had just broken like a couple of days prior. I was like, well, I can't print it off. So I literally have those figures standing in front of my laptop. Like, I just blew the backdrop up on my computer screen, and then just set the figures on the keyboard, and just took a couple shots. That was another number I kind of grew up with that I really liked, was the "Yes, we have no bananas." Yeah. This is another favorite of mine. Another favorite from the first season is Saxon Violence. Really loved. It's one of the few times Phenomena actually appears. It's funny, like he kind of had a bit of a run there in the beginning of the show, and then just kind of disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know why they did that. He pops up every once in a while, but yeah, he. Well, I mean, I think I've been watching the Disney Plus episodes, and kind of there's just especially I'm now in the 4th season, and you get to really see how many puppets exist now, how many Muppet characters there are, and they made that the new opening for the 2nd season, which kind of with the arches that became so iconic and follows out through the rest of the season. And when they shot that the arches, you'll see there's a couple of characters that just like whatnots that never exist anywhere else except in that opening, as well as George and Mildred. And right. Mildred and George never appear after the first season. I mean, I think there's maybe a couple where they appear, very, very rarely, but they put them in that shot because I guess they didn't have a whole lot of characters to use. But I don't know if they didn't have the intent. They knew they weren't going to use them again. I don't know what, but if they used them for the arches and then really never used them again, especially George, I think maybe Mildred, but I don't think George ever appeared again.
George does. Here's a bit of trivia for you. George appears once, but he's voiced by Richard Hunt. In the Stop What's That Sound number, he's one of the 3 hunters who is hunting down a tractor that you see at the very end. He's voiced by Richard Hunt in that one, though.
That's right. You are correct. So I don't know if that's technically George, or if that's the puppet being used as somebody that's like because they would do that too. They would recycle characters and use them as different characters. So it's possible that that's George, but yeah, because you said it's like so different. It's like it's and. Typically, George was like, I'm just sweeping here and there, and that was like a whole. So who knows? Who knows?
Right.
So and here we have a shot from the Muppets Take Manhattan. That obviously this is where Scooter is an usher in the theater, and Lou Zealand comes in with his boomerang fish act, trying to see the latest 3D movie, and then Chef's in the background, the popcorn is popping in the face 3D.
And I made sure to have the chef holding up the little soda cups too for that shot. I've been thinking about going back and redoing that shot because I actually want to get like a screen cap of the movie and see if I can do something a little different. What I'm trying to do now, I do enjoy like the head to toe shots, but now when I'm working with toys more often, I want to try and get it like hip level, like the actual puppets when I'm working with toys to make it look closer and closer to the actual shot. But I was pretty happy with this one.
Yeah, it came out really cool.
Thank you.
And like I said, in this one, there was a promo shot or something where it was a little more clear, but New Zealand was in behind the counter, and I was like, all right. So I actually went through and found the video and scrubbed through it. I'm like, all right, this is close enough. And so like that's like the shot. I was like, all right, that's cool. But that one I actually wanted to see, like get real close there because I mean, like I said, the attention to detail, really, really cool.
Well, thank you.
I think we have,
and that's something. So something I had to learn. Oh, thank you. Something I had to learn about was depth perception on using figures. Whatever you have in the foreground, obviously you really want to zoom in and really get the texture of the characters who are like closest. But then I also like in the background having it is a little blurred, but you can still tell like, oh, there's a bunch of characters like that you recognize in the back. But I like the focal point. That's you don't think of it now because as you learn, you get better, and some things end up becoming common sense, but you don't know what you don't know when you're starting off.
Right, and and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about this is to tell people like how they're how to do these things is, and it's trial and error. Like this photo here, like when you see the photo, you're like, oh right, that's a scene and a clip from the Muppet movie, duh. And then when I'm looking for this shot, that shot does not exist in the movie.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to show people this. This is actually, Dr. Bunsen Honeydew is at the controls and he says, sound is ready, give me a level. An animal walks past and does the testing. And then it cuts back to Dr. Bunsen when his glasses flip up and all that stuff. But the two are not really in the same shot almost ever. It's like it's one's here and one's over there. So what you've done is kind of combine the two shots together. So that's what I've done here, and you can see that how close it is to what's going on, and it's very, very cool. You almost need that little the ticky tack, the sticky tape for the next version where his glasses are flipped up like he's and he's freaking out.
Yeah, those kind of shots. You're right. I guess I don't think of that like when putting them together, but I definitely wanted that shot. I remember watching that when I was a kid. Animals screaming into the mic terrified the absolute shit out of me as a kid. It's just so jarring. It was scarier than his head coming out of that giant building in the showdown scene for me for some reason.
Well, I mean, even the angle you have here of animal, like it's like almost the exact angle, like the whole thing is like exact.
Well, and I had to, so that microphone is on a stand, which is why it's higher, because normally those mics, I would say that mic probably comes up to probably just below his shoulders. So I had to put that mic on like a couple of like little tiny platforms or whatever. Maybe I used one of the speakers to stand up because I wanted the microphone to angle down for his mouth to really look like screaming into it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Like that's the attention to detail. That's what, that's how movies and all these things are made. Like Tom Cruise is a short dude, but they put him on apple boxes and make him look like he's like 6'5" or whatever it is. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
So that's the beauty of movie magic.
Yeah.
Let me try to see. Do I have any more? Those are like So I wanted you to see those because I really when I see your work, that's what I think of. I can see the attention to detail and the love and just the I know exactly what that is from. Like I can tell like immediately. I'm like, oh, that's from that skit. That's from that. So I really wanted everyone to see kind of what's going on there and your how you see these things and how you put them together. I do want to show a few more pictures of your collection. I'm going to bring some up here in a second so we can show everybody. We're gonna wrap up this soon. We've been going way longer than I had expected, so and that's great.
Well, I do have a surprise. Let me know when you're ready. And for the end, I have a surprise for you here at the end.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let me bring this on, and we'll show
Sure.
some of these other items from your collection here. Let me just pop it up here.
By the way, okay, yeah, go ahead, and I'll talk as we show these. Okay, yeah, here we go.
So this has some historical significance of this week, because as we know that Christopher Finch, the author of the Muppets and Men, which is the bottom there, and the works which you see there, passed away this week. We found out. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that, and because that those were the resources, like the works came out, I would say, a good 6 to 8 years before the internet. All right. I mean, before it really became a thing. The internet kind of existed, obviously, in certain circles and wherever, but widespread, the internet really didn't exist when those books came out. And those were really like I said, the resources that the Muppet fans relied on for all kinds of things. I mean, the making of the Muppet Show, obviously just focused on that specifically. And when the works came out, we were exposed to all kinds of productions and behind the scenes information, and information about shows we didn't even had no idea existed, and all kinds of things. And the back page of that, not the back page, but there's a spread in that shows a whole bunch of Muppet merchandise. That became like, my holy grail of checklists. Like, someday,
oh yes,
someday I would love to have all of these things. I still don't have everything in that picture. If believe it or not, I still don't have everything in that picture. But I have a lot. Don't get me wrong, I have a lot. But yeah, so I wanted to make sure we talked about that and show some of these items here. But obviously the Kermit clock. The clock, the Kermit phone. Very, very cool. What else I can hit this button. And
I got to tell you, we're talking about Jim Henson the Works. I borrowed that so many times from our public library that, like, at one point the pages in the very middle came out, and I felt so like I had to pay for the book because I borrowed it so much, but nobody else was even borrowing it. Like, I remember seeing my name for one after the other. Like, obviously I was the only one borrowing this book. And and then finally in high school, I was at Barnes & Noble, and I actually saw it in the store, which I was so surprised. And I finally just bought it on the spot. And it's one of my favorite books. I'll still look at that.
It was out of print for a little while. I mean, you can get it today. It's been in print for years now. But yeah, it came out and then was out of print for whatever reason for a little while. So it became hard to find. But luckily, it's been so popular that it's been I don't know how many printings it's now in, but it's a great book. I mean, it's definitely the book that fans use at when they go to signing events and things. I mean, mine is completely full. I mean, it's just nuts. This show is not supposed to be about me showing things. It's supposed to be about you showing things. But I will show this. This is my copy of the works. And when I open it up, you can't even see the colors. You can't even see the thing anymore. Like, it's completely it's completely full. So that's my copy of the works. That's been my go-to for years. My copy of Muppets and Men.
Yeah.
This was one of those weird kind of days. Back in the day, before eBay really became a thing, it was hard to find things. You had to go to antique stores or hope to find something at a flea market or whatever. But I did manage to find this on eBay, and I spent way too much money. That amount will not be revealed, but way too much money. Because back in the day, it was super, super rare. So today it's probably considered what I paid about average. I mean, depending. But I literally bought it on eBay, and then I don't even know, like a couple days later, I just happened to be going to I found a yard sale in my, like 5 minutes from my house, if that, and it was sitting there
No.
on a blanket for I think like a girl, like an under 12-year-old girl was manning the flea market, and I think she asked like $1 for it or something ridiculous. I was like, I'll give you 5 because I feel bad or something. So I got like 2 of them within like a week. So and then I lost one of them. Or not, I don't say I lost one of them. I misplaced one of them. Yeah. So I have this copy that's signed by Steve Whitmire and Jerry Nelson and Dave Goles and Raleigh Cruson and Paul Williams signed it and everybody. Like that's this one. And then I have a separate whole one because I misplaced this one at some point. That's signed by Bonnie Erickson and Joe Bailey, who was one of the head writers of the show. So I have like 2 copies, and they're both signed by like the front of the house and the back of the house.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
You know from when we were at the Hollywood Bowl, that's basically what my copy of Brian J. Jones's Jim Henson biography, that's what mine looks like, because I had everybody like that night sign that book. And I love showing people when I'm showing people stuff, like just opening that up, be like, oh my gosh, like Karen Prell drew a red Fraggle doodle, Bill Beretta drew Pepe, Dave Goles signed it, both Dave Goles and Gonzo the Great. Like, just, as well as I do, like when you get like little things like that with the autographs, that just makes it so much more special.
Cheryl Henson was the first one to sign my works book. She was doing a tour for the Muppets Make Puppets, and that's where I got it signed first. She was the first one to ever sign it, and so she signed it, and it like takes up like the entire page. Like, thanks for being a Muppet, appreciate Cheryl Henson. And I saw her a couple of years ago, actually right before the pandemic. It was like March of 2020. They did an event for the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance at the Museum of Moving Image, and she was there, and she signed some stuff for me, and I had everybody else sign this, obviously not her because she already signed it, but I told her, like, she was the first one, and she goes, if I would have known, she's like, I'm so sorry, if I would have known, I would have signed it so large. I'm like, no, it's cool, because back then that wasn't like today. You see fans bring the works book. It's like every you see a lot of people getting autographs. Everyone's got that book, like just like because you can. It serves so many purposes, right? Anybody that worked with Henson is probably in that book, so you get a large swath of people could sign it. So yeah, everyone. But back then when I had it signed, I was like one of the first. That was like a new thing. The book had only been out for a couple of years, and they weren't really. The Muppet performers and the family members didn't really do appearances, so it was a kind of a new thing for them too. I want to show this. So we've been talking about Muppets, and we saw like a little bit of Fraggles, but you do have other things. So here's some Sesame Street. There's some Pops in there. We have some Sesame Street PVCs. There's the Super Grover we talked about. Those are all the Fraggle Rock PVCs and a couple of the ones from Sababa.
Yes. Sadly, no Moki. That's a sore topic for many of us.
Oh, you don't have a Moki. Okay.
Of the ones that they had back in the early 2000s, no.
Yeah, they left her out of the plush for whatever reason. Hopefully, they have not released any new merchandise for Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock yet. So maybe we'll see new Moki 2.0. I don't know. I'd like to see Moki 2.0 and Moki 1.0 both be released. I hope they either, continue with both or what. I don't know how that's going to work. And I hope at some point they don't mess it up and start saying, "Oh, this is classic Fraggle Rock," and then bring out Moki 2.0.
Right. Yeah. Otherwise known as Homeless Marge Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's it's a look. I'll say that. So I want to show these. So we have the Muppet Motorcycle Mania figures up here.
Yeah,
these are
I think there's like 12 of them, but I only have 4.
Believe me, I don't have all of them either. Okay. That's a hard set to complete, and they're super fragile. So, if you find them online, whoever you buy them from, hopefully they package them well because they break super, super easily.
Oh yeah.
Now so yeah, we talked about these. We talked about the Sesame PVCs. Like, it's so funny because you see these, they're fairly easy to find, but it's just so funny to see when you see Sesame Street PVCs, they're everywhere. Like everybody's got Sesame Street PVCs. That like they just made so many of them. They were such a big seller that they're like just everywhere.
Well, there's some hard to find ones too. Like
there are
Fairy Monster that I would love to. If I ever find them, I would love to get them.
And there's some that were only released like in different countries. There's a whole other thing going on there. I mean, it's wild. Like when you get into some of that stuff.
So I was going to point out real quick, if you wanted to go back real quick.
Sure.
Standing right next to Super Grover, the guy who made my Nigel figure also made me a Guy Smiley out of a Johnny Fiamma figure.
Ah, is that who that is there? We can zoom in. We can see him.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, because that's a custom as well. Yeah, they did not make a Guy Smiley. I believe he was going to be made. Is that correct? Was he the next one of the next ones in the line?
They had a very ambitious first wave, because they were going to do the two-headed monster, Guy Smiley, Ernie, and Oscar. And
as series 2, and they never even got to series 1. They were already planning series 2, and neither have them. They got to the prototype stage of series 2. There's a couple collectors have the package samples, and those are super, super rare because they only made a couple. I don't even know how many there are. There's not many out there.
Very few. But even though it didn't come to fruition, the fact that they were trying to do the two-headed monster in the first wave, that's up there with when they did Dr. Teeth in the first wave of Palisades. Like, that's pretty ambitious because there's a lot of detail, and when you have live hand puppets, there's a lot more detail you have to keep track of.
Yes, and it's a big figure. I mean, I've seen. I mean, it was never released, but I have seen bits and pieces. But yeah, very, very cool. I'm gonna show here's how they all kind of work together, and you can see all the figures in the backstage area. You have the Nigel with everybody else. Like,
this is how it sets up. Like literally right behind me. This is how my shelves are decorated. I always think. It seems to me that the three people who are at the desk the most often are Kermit, Fozzie, and Scooter. Piggy and Gonzo are close, close runner-ups. But I wanted to include a little bit of everybody. I wanted to make sure I had some Jerry Nelson, some Dave Goals. It's funny when I do these. When I'm doing shots, I like to make sure I'm evening out on the different puppeteers. So let's say if I put one shot up on Instagram, that's like a Dave Goals, like a Gonzo or a Bunsen Honeydew shot. I want to remind myself, okay, maybe next time, do a Frank Oz character shot. Because I want to mix it up. It's weird that I think in terms of performers more than I do puppets. Like I'm very curious about what's going on below the surface is everybody. Because when you watch the original Muppet Show, for example, I would love to see what Richard Hunt's face looks like when he's performing Scooter, or what Frank looks like when he's performing Sam Eagle. But anyway, when I do shots, I'm kind of, I don't know, OCD about making sure I split up the characters evenly.
Here.
But yeah, that's the backstage.
Oh, here we can see the shot of all the mayhem and that Muppet Vision 3D. And there's we're talking about the Doc Hopper logo. It's right back here.
Yes.
There's that pin.
Yep.
So everybody can kind of see it. It's kind of small in the back, so I'll zoom it up as big as I can. So that's a pin. Is that in your wall? Is that stuck in your wall, or do you have a little thing behind it? How does that?
I love one of the little cushiony things that goes up against inside the pin, or the pin goes into rather, got lost on my move over to this new place. So I was like, well, I need to put it up because I don't want to just have it sitting somewhere because if something drops on it, it's going to break. Because it's a pretty rare pin. Matter of fact, when I bought that, I was just looking back. The person who made that only made 20 of those.
Oh, interesting.
And, I was like, oh, there's nothing like that else out there at all. I was like, I'm getting that bin. Kind of like the Ocean Breeze soap one. I wanted to rare. So, but Yeah, you got the Diamond Select Electric Mayhem set. I put Scooter in there, just for the sake of the Muppet movie, and then it's surrounded by the Palisades minis.
Oh, and I see something
Oh,
else that's
and
kind of cool.
yes, Hallmark
The,
decorations.
these pins. This is one of the puzzle mystery pins. That's actually the one pin I am missing in that set.
Oh,
The
really?
Rainbow Connection. So I'm on the hunt. If anyone's watching, if you're looking for a Christmas present for me, that looking for that Kermit Rainbow Connection mystery pin, and then I have the whole set. But yeah, that's really really cool. And I think
Yeah.
someone gave that to you, or did you just happen to pick that one out? You bought one, and someone.
So my friend, her and I went to high school together. I did an interview with her a while back, and she was nice enough. She mailed me some really cool stuff, and part of what she sent me was those pins. And yeah, like I knew they were rare, and it's really cool. She sent this. She's a massive Disney fan. She goes to Disney World like 6 times a year, and she sent me those a while back. So
Very
I
very
really
cool. And in this angle, you have the Rainbow Connection Kermit from Palisades, the PVC, and you have that Rainbow Connection behind it. It almost has like the same angle. This whole like they'll just fit together, you know.
yes, absolutely. And then the piggy one is right next to her as well.
Let's see over here. That's also the. Is that the? Is that the? I think that's the
Yeah,
regular one. Is that the regular one or the exclusive?
that's the regular. Yeah.
That's the regular one. Yeah, the other one. It's odd. If you're watching later, I have a video up where I unboxed these, and I got almost the whole set. And I went on eBay and got the rest except for that Kermit to complete the set. And I show everybody off, and I show them. I show the piggies don't interchange. They're not interchangeable, so you can't just take the one piggy that's the regular one and exchange it for the exclusive. They don't fit. They don't have the same
Oh,
pieces. So it's really odd. Like it would go somewhere else in there, and then like you'd have like two Kermits and two Miss Piggies, and you'd take out other characters, which is kind of
right.
odd. I see you wanting to show me something. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this thing up. We're
Yeah, sure. I was going to show you. So the friend of mine who got me those pins, I had asked her to get me. She got me the Muppets Haunted Mansion button-down shirt, and she also
oh
and yeah. So she got me a whole bunch of stuff here. I really like them. I especially love like the design they did. If you want to, I don't know if you
get
can
it.
see
Yeah,
it.
get in there. Yeah, I love how the floating candelabra.
Yeah, yeah,
Very, very cool. See the Fozzie as Gauzy, the Hatbox Ghost in the corner there. That's
right.
really cool.
Right.
Really nicely done.
So there is one more thing in my collection. It is my
All right, let's see it.
favorite thing. I'm sorry. Was there anything else you wanted to show?
No. This is about you. I was just
Okay.
showing some things, to supplement your stuff. So let's see what's your
Sure.
uh-oh.
So I had a puppet builder build me this a while back. This is a dream come true of mine to actually have because it pretty much feels like hold on one moment here. It pretty much feels like I got
I see some arm rods. I see some arm rods.
Yes.
I see some green.
On. Let's see. There. Yeah, so this was built.
Wow.
Yeah, this is built by.
I mean, that's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is built by a puppet builder, and he was nice enough to build this for me. Cost me a few pennies, but worth every penny I spent. We actually discussed for quite a while, like the different looks of Kermit throughout the years. I'm a big fan of like season 3 all the way through, like Muppets Take Manhattan Kermit. He just has a soft. He's not because if you look at the early Sesame Street, that Kermit, he's very rough. He has a lot of those little tiny static balls. You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And the face. Now that I, his face was back then asymmetrical, just because of how it was built and how the hand rests inside. But once you get to the Muppet movie, all the way, through Muppets Take Manhattan and on. Sorry. I really am learning how to use the camera here. But anyway, so he and I talked about the different eras of Kermit, how the mouth should look, how the hands should look, the torso, the legs. He did an amazing job. I really love this. So I'm a substitute teacher on the side, and once in a while, thank you, Sean. Once in a while, when I'm teaching, I'll bring Kermit along, and I can't do the voice, but I'll play like an audio clip of like Happy Feet or Being Green, and the kids really love it. So it's a lot of fun, and you know, I sometimes do little YouTube videos of lip syncing and stuff like that. So you know, and also the person I have a lot of respect for Steve Whitmire, a lot of respect for Matt Vogel, but the person I watch for like the little moments is Jim. Like he he played him so casually. Like the older Kermit got when Jim was performing him, the more relaxed and subtle and just more human Kermit became. And kind of, I don't know, like for me anyway, when I watch him watch Kermit in like Muppet Stuff Manhattan, it's the most realistic version of Kermit's personality, I think, because he gets very serious, he gets angry, he gets sad, he gets lonely, and it's I see the change between that and say the Muppet movie, and but yeah, no, Kermit's always been my favorite, so. And very happy to have this puppet. He looks very much like the real thing. And his mouth, he does the frown pretty well. But yeah.
That's really cool. I mean, Muppet Stuff Manhattan Kermit, like the end of the Muppet Show, Muppet Stuff Manhattan Kermit, that's my favorite Kermit. Like, I feel, I mean, they're maybe a little stiffer. I'm not sure like how they made the puppet, but whatever they did there, like really, like, it doesn't feel like there's a. I mean, I like the hand. Maybe I kind of see the hand. There's something about that era of Kermit that like seems like it's like more polished. He's more like the best version of himself. I don't know how else to describe that. Right?
Yeah, no, I think the Muppet Stuff Manhattan version of Kermit looks the absolute best. And like he doesn't look bad, but there was just. I don't know. It was peak Jim Henson, I think.
That's one of the movies where I think almost every character looks their best. Like that version of Dr. Teeth, that version of Floyd, like they're like like the outfits, what the whole thing. They just really are their best in that movie.
So something I had found out through the Brian J. Jones book is that when they were making The Great Muppet Caper, it was right after season 5 of The Muppet Show had wrapped, they had decided to experiment with a new type of felt. And that felt was used to make the Kermit that you see in The Great Muppet Caper, as well as Scooter and a couple others. But what Jim didn't like about the Great Muppet Caper version of Kermit and Scooter is that the new material that they were testing out, the heads looked way too fuzzy, and it was so fuzzy, in fact, that there was like a gap. There's a bit of a space in between Kermit's eye and the top of his head. So they only had that version of Kermit for one movie, and I think the Fantastic Miss Piggy special, and then that was it. And then they went with the whole new material that you see in Muppet Stuff Manhattan, and like all those just look immaculate. It's puppet building on a whole level that we haven't really seen since.
And that's that goes to the whole thing. Like it's a craft, right? And there's experimentation and everything else. Like nothing's ever perfect, and things look the way they do for a certain reason, and you never quite know why. I forgot about that. That's a great book. I forgot about that. I want to show you one thing. We had talked about the Frank Oz DVD that was signed. So I took a picture. I couldn't get it. So this is kind of funny. I have it on my wall, but I have it instead of it being hung with a a typical traditional hook and a nail. I've been using not contact strips. Command strips. Because that way when you take them off the wall, if you move or whatever, they won't mess up the wall. There's no real hole. But because they're command strips, the Velcro is like super tight. So I wound up
Uh,
taking a picture of it while we were showing something else, so I can kind of show you how it is together.
okay. Yeah.
Over here. Here we go. So I can show you that. And that's the
Nice.
frame they have. So that little piece at the bottom is made for, it's made for CDs.
Yeah.
So you can put the CD right in there, and it holds it in. There's a little piece in the middle that'll fit in there, and the top is made for the artwork.
That is so cool. Yeah.
So
no,
that'll keep it nice and protected,
Yeah.
and it'll be it becomes a display piece, because as it should be, because it's signed by Frank Oz, and that's a great documentary. That's how we know they almost all died, either in a campfire under during Rocky Mountain Holiday, or in an air balloon when a helicopter almost took the balloon out. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Or when the Muppets are climbing up that pipe drain in Great Muppet Caper, and they were talking about how they were all laying down with their puppets, like really, they're stretching out their arms to make it look like they're crawling up that pipe. And Dave Goles was the one he goes, if one little tiny rope budges, we all just collapse on top of each other and die. Like, that's insane. Nobody would ever do that today, ever.
No.
Too risky.
Exactly. So Lucas is saying #fix Fozzie. Now, I'm not sure if that's the new Fozzie that's out right now. I was just watching this, and I think I understand what you're talking about. So correct me if I'm wrong, Lucas. But the Fozzie that they have now, his ears, like they flap around. So every time he moves, he gets this flap. And I've been going back and forth watching, new Muppet stuff and old Muppet stuff. And obviously, season 1 of Fozzie had that mechanism where his ears could wiggle.
Right,
but the rest of them, they did not do that. And yeah, with it flapping just as he moves, it has like a fakeness to it. It has like a puppetness to it instead of like a realness to it. And I would hope they either go back to the mechanism or only have that happen when it needs to be flapping. But otherwise, I think it needs to be a little more stiff there, because it's almost distracting when his ears are just flopping around. It's like with Rolf, it becomes part of his character, but with Fozzie, it makes him look weird.
Well, there's been kind of an issue with Fozzie, which is why I like the hashtag. Like, Lucas didn't just say, this needs to be fixed. I think the hashtag is like an all-encompassing.
He comes on. It says his nose too. Everything is off. It looks sloppy. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
well, the thing about Fozzie now, the joke about Fozzie back then was he's just a terrible comedian. He doesn't realize it. Fozzie was capable in doing other things, but now the way they make Fozzie look is that he's incapable of doing anything.
Well, that was definitely the case in Muppet Treasure Island, which I had a problem with. Like, his characterization in that movie was like, oh, he's a simpleton, so he can't do anything. You're like, he doesn't know what water is. He doesn't know what the ocean is. Like, and that was Frank Oz's comment apparently too. It's like, how dumb are we making him? Like, this is really crazy.
So, from what I understand, Frank Oz had a disagreement with the people who wrote that in terms of making, especially is it Mr. Bimbo or Thimble?
Right. Mr. Bimbo.
Yeah. Like, I remember being 9 years old watching that in theaters, Chris, and just, like, that's not Fozzie. That's just not, he's not that stupid.
Right. And that movie came out when I was like 14 or so. 16. It came out 96, right? 94, 96.
Oh,
so
96. I was a little older.
Yeah. So, that's the kind of point where, like, you're trying to get your friend to be like, the Muppets are cool. I'm trying to tell you the Muppets are cool. And then you see like that characterization, like, oh, you just sent me back like 5 years, man. Now you kind of get it, because there's other things to reference, and you see Muppet Christmas Carol, you see these other movies, like, oh, see, he's not always that. It's just for this movie, and you can kind of, you can make more sense of it now. But back then, you're like trying to have like a conversation with like teenagers, like, no, I'm serious. He's not this dumb. Usually, it's like it's better. But anyway,
really you're probably like me, where you find yourself fighting other friends for your fandom, because you're trying to be like, the Muppets are, and then the Muppets are cool. I wouldn't have this room if I didn't have that love for them. Right. But then when I see some things that are still taking place today. I'm like, yeah, like I would rather just watch the old school Muppet Show and the old Muppet specials. So
Which they need to put out on Disney Plus. They got Disney Plus now. There's no reason why the Muppets at Walt Disney World should not be on Disney Plus and some of these other
I
specials. Like they should. I mean, the Muppets have a collection. There's a dedicated collection.
yeah,
I am under the hope that the Henson Company and the Disney Company come to a not a mutual agreement, not necessarily a sale of the characters if they don't have to, but a mutual agreement where they will make a deal to have more Henson product on Disney Plus.
yeah.
Like that, even the Muppets a celebration of 30 years. Like they should have that on Disney Plus. They should be able to just have that there, even though those characters from everything, just put that on there. Same thing with the Muppet Celebration of Jim Henson. Like these are important things that, okay, they talk about things that you don't own. Big whoop. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You're trying to, you celebrate Jim Henson and then you try to like separate these things. Let them just be. I mean, obviously moving forward, that's a whole different story. You can figure things out however you need to, but things that were, let them out there. And it'd be great to see deals in place for things like Emmett Otter or the Christmas toy. Just all these different things. Like, they're all on these other different streaming services. It'd be nice. I know Disney's trying to just be all whatever ever it owns, and that's really it. That's on Disney Plus. But it'd be nice. I know that there's a new deal with Sony. They're going to have the things they've co-produced. Maybe Muppets Take Manhattan might be able to come on and some other things. But I'm hoping there's a deal in the place. But okay, yeah. I digress. I want to make sure that everyone checks out Lucas's. I will hold on. I'm messing it up now. I want to make sure everyone checks out Lucas's page. It is the Muppet Collection page, and it'll come up here in a second. There we go. The Muppet Collection page. It's only on Facebook. Yep. I don't know why that is. I mean, you're welcome to expand. I don't have a monopoly on other social media channels. Be sure to spread your wings. And get some more followers. But yeah, so far you have to have a Facebook account or steal your mother's to to see the Muppet Collection page, and do check it out. It is really, really cool. Like we talked about on Mondays, they show off fan collections.
Yes.
And during the rest of the week, they talk about all kinds of other productions and other news and all kinds of cool stuff that's coming out. So
for the most part,
to them.
I was going to say, for the most part, I do try to stay up to date on the news, and I'll release like whatever news I hear from Tough Pigs or you or somebody else. That way people kind of know, like what's coming up and what's out there. I don't know if you don't mind me indulging real quick, Chris. Is there anybody watching right now who might have a question before we go? I don't know if anybody would have a question on what I do for the page or my shots or anything.
I've been looking for questions. I've been picking them up. There hasn't really been any questions from the audience that I could pull. But there are definitely some people watching. There's definitely some people that thought they would like to see your Kermit impression if you could do some with your Kermit. No. But that is what's going on. You got a couple likes. I see a couple people got a couple likes. Sean asks here, do you think we could get a Fraggle Rock movie in the future? I will tell you that I think we just did. The Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock, the way it's the story evolves. I think it's like kind of like how the Electric Mayhem, how this serialized storytelling. I think that's basically like a Fraggle Rock movie, and I think that's maybe even better than a movie. I'm not sure. It's longer than a movie.
Sure.
And I think
it was a running story. My personal opinion on the Fraggle Rock thing, I kind of see Fraggle Rock as this thing that they could only do at this certain period of time in the 80s. And I think whatever magic that there was, the way the collaboration went together, and of course, Jim had such a great control of all of his products, and that it certainly included Fraggle Rock. I think without that type of leadership, and don't get me wrong, that level of leadership is insanely rare to find. Now, and Chris, feel free to disagree if you feel like you disagree. Now I feel like we have too many chefs in the kitchen. And there are a lot of people who want to see these things come back, and I do too. But then when I actually see them come back, I was like, I, it was so well done that watching it done now, it's like, oh, these guys are just fans. They don't. There's a certain quiet whimsy that the '80s had that this new version was just very loud and very very colorful.
So I'll push back a little bit on that. I mean, I wouldn't say I completely disagree, but there were some things that didn't quite gel with me with the first season of Fraggle Rock Back to the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked how they took advantage of HD technology and had it much more colorful, because the world is always supposed to be so colorful, and the techniques they use, the cameras, they just couldn't capture that. And when you see it now, it's like, wow, the colors on this are just amazing. So I really like that. I really liked how it's not a sequel, it's not a prequel, it's like it's a reboot, it's like a reimagining of the world, so that the characters can still relearn the things they already learned, but in a different way.
Yes.
And I liked how they there's a couple of new songs, spread out intermittently, but they used the old songs and they twisted those around in different ways too. So like Follow Me is one of my favorite songs, and in the original Fraggle Rock, it's like the first song you hear after the theme song. That's like the first song, boom. In this version, it's actually the last song of this season. So it's like it has like this mirror to it. I like how Doc is trying to do something that's overarching and fits more with the overarching theme of Fraggle Rock, that they're all connected, because that didn't really come to be like till later, and I like the pacing of it. At some points, I love the pacing of it, and some points I don't like the pacing of it, because when you try to watch Fraggle Rock now, we've all kind of grown into this, more rapid pace style of TV. So when you watch the old Fraggle Rock, sometimes, like even when I was a kid, the Doc and Sprocket parts were so boring to me back then. I was like, oh my God, get through this. But now I don't find that to be that as like that, because they intersperse them in different ways and at different times in the episode. Because before it was always like bookend. It was always like this, it was real cookie cutter. Like, okay, here's this piece, and because there were always for the international element of it, splicing those in for different markets, like the Doc in France was a baker, the Doc in the UK was a lighthouse keeper, all these other things. This is just this. It's just her. So I really like that. I'll tell you the things I didn't like. Well, I liked Cantus having like this different Cantus. I hope in the future that they bring back Cantus. Maybe have Bill Beretta perform him, and have like the guy that was there, that was like his brother.
Yeah.
Right? There's no reason to get rid of Cantus and like had the rest of the band there. That I liked the character that was there, but I didn't like that it wasn't Cantus. And and Cantus, that character can't give the same. Doesn't have that same kind of Jim Henson funky way of speaking that Cantus did, and I don't want him to. I want Cantus. So I like that. I wasn't a fan. Like, I'm not sure if they thought that the kind of Jewish speaking way, like that because that's what Jerry Nelson said. Jerry Nelson said that the trash heap, he modeled the trash heap's voice after like a kind of like a Jewish stereotype, but like a Jewish kind of voice.
Yeah, right.
And I realized I wanted to have more female characters, female performers, voice characters, which is great. Just not really a fan of the voice that they kind of used for the trash heap. But like, it really doesn't have like that, like the same kind of like that prominence, the same kind of like knowledgeable voice or whatever that that the trash heap sort of had. It's like, okay.
Well, and I kind of feel like some people were focusing a little too much on the fact that the trash heap used to have a Jewish Romanian accent, and they're completely forgetting that the trash heap had incredible warmth. She had a lot of love for all 5 of the Fraggles, following Ganj, anybody who she was trying to help out. She had a great depth of sincerity. that came with her silly attitude, just kind of avant-garde. You weren't. I don't know. When I was a kid, I didn't know what that accent was, but it fit so well for what Jerry Nelson was doing.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I wanted to pick your brain on that. So.
But yeah, so that's so yeah. So I think we have a Fraggle Rock movie. I'm hoping to see more of. Hold on a second. I'm hoping to see more of Fraggle Rock, Back to the Rock. I hope they renew it. I haven't heard anything yet. So I am looking forward to more of it. I hope they do more. But yeah, they could tweak a couple of things. I mean, it's the first season. I really did like how the characters sort of interacted. I thought they got to some of the interaction better, because in Fraggle Rock, in the original series, the interaction didn't kind of come till later, like how that all kind of played together. They're already starting to put that world together in the immediately. So I thought that was really well done. All right. But anyway, we went like a whole hour more than I had expected to, which, I mean, and we killed it. Don't get me wrong. But I think everyone is ready for us to call it a night. We want to thank Lucas for being here. We want to thank him for showing all of those amazing things. I don't even have that Uncle Traveling Matt PVC. It's on my way. A buddy of mine says he has it for me, so we'll see. So that might be coming to my collection soon. But that stuff was totally amazing. I'm a little jealous, I have to admit. The Kermit was amazing. Everything was amazing. Thank you again for being here. Thanks again for running your page. It's a great page. Again, check out.
Well, and I want to thank you. Like, that really was a fun surprise seeing you put up the images from the movie or the show next to the shots I had done. I'd never actually, because again, every time I do those shots, it's strictly from memory, A, and B, what I have to work with. So that was really cool. Thank you, Chris.
You're very welcome. That's what we do here. We're trying to, like, change it up a little bit, do some surprises. You never know. It's a whole new ball game over here on Charles Your Stuff. It's not quite the same old thing. All right. Thank you, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Stay on. We'll talk after the show, but we're going to wrap this up.
Sounds good.
Show will be any better live at our age. It's great to be around anything that's live.